All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? We are online today because of some of the unrest that's been going on in Wauwatosa for the last about 24 hours, roughly, following the announcement that Officer Joseph Mensah of the
Seriously?
Wauwatosa Police Department is not going to be charged in the shooting of Alvin Cole. And so we are going to be taking a little tour through North Avenue today, where all of the protesting was going on last night. We talked to some of my students about what's going on as we see a little bit of some of the visuals related to it. So feel free to stick around. Hey, Foss, what's up?
Nothing.
Yeah, I know, Romaine. I saw. It's tough, huh?
I already knew this was finna happen,
Yeah.
but it's crazy.
Yeah,
But gotta keep moving on anyway. So
for sure. All right, guys. Well, you may have noticed I am rolling around North Avenue in Wauwatosa. So I'm gonna head up to Mayfair because it's a short little trip to be able to get started there. And then we're gonna just take a little lap up and down North Ave. Most of the stuff is kind of starting to wind down. And when I say most of the stuff, I don't mean like the protesting. I mean like the cleanup. 6 a.m. This morning, cleanup started once the curfew lifted. And so it's been about 6 hours that people have had to like clean up and stuff around businesses. The news was here earlier in the day, so you guys missed the news being here. But things are still like you'll still be able to see kind of a good taste of kind of what was going on. There's one of the entrances to Mayfair, which you probably noticed was blocked off with big concrete pavers. The National Guard brought in yesterday. We'll see a couple other spots where they're using those same pavers, and we'll loop into Mayfair here and see where they have them all set up in case they need them later on today. So we're gonna just take a little bit of a look through kind of what's going on in the neighborhood. I know it's not a super economics topic, but it's all kind of pretty related. And when we see some of the economic impacts, when we just think about the fact that like we are pulling into Mayfair Mall right now, and there is again like some of the stuff. There's some of the stuff going on for that, and some of the pavers there. And when we see the mall here is pretty much totally closed. At least it was this morning. There are more cars here than there were this morning. A lot of those cars are like service workers and people. As far as I know, they are trying to keep a lot of stuff kind of closed for business right now. So we're gonna see past the Barnes and Noble here. For the most part, everything here is like kind of looking normal. And what you'll see is that a lot of the stuff along the drive is gonna look really normal because for the most part, everything that was going on yesterday and yesterday night was incredibly peaceful and chill. So we see like Barnes and Noble is all boarded up here, but that's kind of like a little bit of overkill. Of course, we're starting at Mayfair Mall parking lot. Why?
you know what's crazy? I was just up here last Saturday.
Just up there last Saturday,
Yeah.
and now it's all shut down for right now. Why is this where I'm starting this little tour? Anybody?
Is that where is it because this where the riot started or
So this is
protest?
not exactly. So this is where the shooting happened in February, and so the protest was trying to get here, and we'll actually see some of the like when we say riot, they were there were people on the news, and I'm sure there were people on social media saying that. But for the most part, this was totally a peaceful protest, except for a little bit of stuff that we're going to see. The stuff that the media grabbed onto, if you saw some of the news this morning, like we were watching a couple of news clips last night in pack time in my pack, and we saw, or this morning in pack time, and we saw the intersection at 76th and North, right by school, totally full of people. And we'll talk a little bit about why as we get closer to there. But then they also showed the spot where like windows were getting broken and people were jumping into places and doing a little bit of looting. And they, made it sound like there was a lot going on as far as what people would call a riot. But the reality is more so that the people that were in the protest were trying to head here, trying to come to Mayfair because they wanted to be, I'm sure, protesting in the spot where the shooting had gone down. But at the intersection of Menominee River Parkway and North, which we'll see just how quick we can get there. If you've ever walked from school to Mayfair, you know that it's like a super short, super easy walk. It's going to be even faster driving the car. We're going to be there in like less than 2 minutes. And when we get there, what we're going to see is the spot where the police and the National Guard said, no, we're not going to let them go all the way to Mayfair. We know that this thing will kind of go all night. They set a curfew last night. They wanted to send people home and get them out of the streets and kind of calm everything down, even though it was pretty calm and relaxed. And so they told people, no, you can't go to Mayfair. We're not going to let you keep marching down north. You got to turn around, go home, get out of here. Obviously, people didn't want to hear that. And so there was now like this confrontation. And what happens in a lot of these situations, whether it's situation in the parking lot or the situation with the protesters or any of the situations with any protesters, is now when the police say they want something done and they don't get what they want, they escalate force. And so when they escalate force like that, it can lead to either one of two options. Either it works well, or the people that have had force escalated on them escalate back. And so what happened was right here at this intersection that we're coming up to, which took us not even a minute. We were sitting at a red light 45 seconds ago, and now we are here, right here in this intersection on Menominee River Parkway. The police turned them around and said, nope, not going to happen. And they started tear gassing people when they wouldn't turn around and leave. And so when they started tear gassing people, they went back through this like little stretch of neighborhood here, but they got right to the intersection of Swan and North here, which I'm going to conveniently slow down so we can kind of like pan over what's going on a little bit, with Collectivo and this stuff on the other side of the street. So if you saw any videos of like things really getting smashed with glass, it was this intersection right here, that Swan Pharmacy and the wallpaper place and the cleaners, and then Come On, which I think is a restaurant, and Collectivo, all had stuff just smashed up. This morning I watched those boarded up windows on Collectivo. Some guys take the glass out of there and they were boarding it up with plywood. Collectivo is like open for business. And this morning there were like police officers there talking to some of the people that run the place. And then across the street is where things were really smashed up. And so that pharmacy and that Come On store, like you can still see kind of the glass here, and that Come On store is just smashed. Channel 12 News was there this morning talking to some people and showing kind of what was going on. There's really not much to see though, other than that, and a little bit up here at this one spot that is, I'm trying to remember, this one right here, this Anytime Fitness, I think had some, no, that wasn't it. There was some fitness place somewhere that had some glass broken that I saw on the news. But other than that, boy, you look on the news and you think, man, they were really smashing a lot of stuff and there was really a lot of mayhem. There's a lot of places that are boarded up here along North Ave, but there are very few that actually had any damage going on. And so when people talk about like rioting and talk about some of the things that are going on in Tosa and that were happening last night, for the most part, that's kind of the media jumping in and saying things that aren't totally there. And so in econ, that kind of connects well with what we were talking about earlier this week, where on Monday we were looking at these Birkin bags and we were talking a little bit about hype and media and building things into something. And that's kind of what we're seeing here, is that there's very little actual damage that's been done, which reflects the fact that almost all of this protest was super peaceful. Right around the corner here on Jackson Park Boulevard is where Mr. Feschling, our principal, lives. And he was out last night in the neighborhood saying, like, yeah, it was all like 95 to 99% totally peaceful and relaxed, and people doing what they think is right, what they're feeling pretty serious about, and not really causing any trouble. Very few people in kind of like a separate group here to cause some issues. As we're coming up the hill here, we're almost to 76th and North, right where we could turn and be to school. And so what we'll see is that Tosa City Hall is here. It's all barricaded off. The one spot to get to City Hall, there's a big old, I don't know if you guys can see that, there's a big old police light in the yard of City Hall. And there's another one right there because they had this whole intersection last night. If you ever saw videos of like a super big crowd kind of packed up, that video that they were shooting was from 76th and North right here. I'm going to show you the other entrance into City Hall and the library, which are temporarily closed because it's all blocked off again like that, because they don't want anybody coming back there and stirring anything up, I guess. So there was a lot of video shot right in this intersection at 76th and North here across from school. You got BMO Bank here and the Lutheran Home and Longfellow and City Hall all in one convenient spot. And so there were a lot of people kind of jammed up there. But again, when you look at like what actually happened, I don't know, not a lot of evidence for what people would like call a riot and all that stuff. Shout out Hallman Lindsay. They've donated a lot of paint for our school. Anytime you see a painted wall, that paint all came from Hallman Lindsay. So that's kind of that. That being said, I want to clear a little space for you guys to jump in to just like talk about anything related to this. I know we were talking a little bit about this yesterday as we were reading through some stuff in class, but to kind of maybe continue some of the discussion that we had, thinking about a little bit of what's going on now that we know officially that there was a decision reached yesterday to not pursue any charges. The district attorney, John Chisholm, talked to Alvin Cole's family yesterday at about 3 in the afternoon, said that they weren't going to press any charges. Then there was some press conferences after that, just kind of officially announcing that. So anyways, I don't know. I would love for you guys to chime in and talk a little bit about kind of what your thoughts are on what's going on, what you think about that decision. Romaine, you were kind of calling it yesterday. So maybe you get the first word today, talking about why you figured that was how it was going to go down. Yo, Romaine, you there? Weak. All right, guys, I'm gonna get real bored driving around by myself. Tell me a little bit of something. Paul, you there, bro?
Yeah,
What's up? What do you think, man?
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Just everything that's happened is just crazy.
for sure.
They got everything boarded up. They was ready. They was not
They
playing.
they were so 2 days ago, Tuesday night when I was leaving, when we like first announced that we were not going to be in person Wednesday, yesterday. There were already folks boarding up a couple places along North Ave. A lot of people were out like chalking the sidewalk. I think they were, I mean, I'm sure some of it was like they genuinely felt this way, but I'm sure some of it in the chalking was so that like people wouldn't come and smash and grab. Like hopefully they read their chalk outside and went, oh, these are good people. They care about what's going on. So who knows? Some of it, hopefully it was all genuine, but I have a feeling some of it was also kind of motivated by like, well, if we say the right things here, hopefully we don't get anything smashed up and looted on us. Anyways, I'm gonna turn around because we're at like 54th and North. And by the time you get to 54th, there's like no sign of anything going on. Part of that's because we're in Milwaukee. And so for once, this problem isn't really a Milwaukee problem because this is a Tosa problem. So when you get to 55th and North, you're out of Tosa and nobody's really thinking about it anymore. It's just business as usual. Something that I thought was interesting and thought provoking to kind of be talking about and thinking about, because I kind of came to my mind yesterday afternoon after we had been talking about some of this, is like when people try and like rationalize some of this stuff and say like, oh yeah, police officers have a right to self-defense. Okay, fine. I get you on that. I hear you. But I'm not sure that it's exactly the same type of self-defense as like an individual citizen. Like if somebody rolls up on me right now and tries to rob me, then like, okay, anything I do would be in self-defense. But in most situations, it doesn't happen like it does in the movies, where like police aren't showing up to like save the day. Many times they're the ones initiating contact. And so I don't know, self-defense seems a little bit weird sometimes, but be that as it may, I was thinking about how, check this dude out, just dancing, living his best life.
Are you breaking the law?
Am I breaking the law?
You're on your phone while talking.
I'm not on my phone. I'm on a video. Yeah, it certainly could be. That's certainly possible. I'm just enjoying that dude. We're gonna get to keep that forever. Anyways, as I was saying, Malachi, forget me breaking the law. Breaking the law for education, right? Breaking the law for the children. Anyways, here's Ted's ice cream. I was thinking, how many people, how many citizens is it acceptable for a police officer to shoot before we just take their gun away? And not even like, it could be totally justified, even if it's 100% justified. You can make the argument that that sometimes happens. Well, even if every shooting they did was completely justified, I wonder if it doesn't make sense to just say like, look, that's going to be some trauma that you're going to have to deal with, even if you're completely innocent. Killing somebody, like that's going to follow you kind of for the rest of your life. You're going to have to think about that kind of forever. And so I wonder if maybe it wouldn't be a terrible idea to just say, we're not going to fire you necessarily, but we are going to take your gun away and just say, maybe you should work a desk job. Could still be a police desk job. You don't even have to get a pay cut necessarily. But if you killed somebody, maybe we don't want you back out on the street anymore for your own health, more so than anything. However, our man that was involved in this shooting in February, Officer Mensah, he killed one guy, put him back out to work. He killed another guy. They put him back out to work. Now he's killed a third guy. And like maybe he just gets in really bad situations. That could be. Or maybe, hear me out, maybe killing all those people was like a sign that he's got some issues or that he's dealing with some trauma from some of these other things. And maybe it wasn't the best idea to just stick a gun in this guy's hand and throw him back out there on the street. And so I wonder what the acceptable number of deaths are to have on your record and still be out there being a police officer running the show. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I got a question.
Yeah, what's your question?
Wasn't there like a thing where like people said that it was a group of people who went and shot up his supposed house or something like that?
There was a, you talking about the protest a month or two ago when people were outside of his house?
Yeah.
There were people outside of his house. He came out. So this is kind of speaking to what I'm talking about, right? And, you know, whatever, we can say self-defense or we can say whatever, but there was a peaceful protest going on outside of his house. And he came out the house and started mixing it up with some protesters. So I don't know. Again, like, sure, it's your house. There's people in your yard. You want to be left alone, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I get that, I guess. Maybe don't shoot people 3 times, three people, and then you won't have people protesting in your yard. That's one, like, sorry for sounding critical, but geez, maybe don't shoot 3 people, kill them. Then you wouldn't have people in your yard. Be that as it may, even if they are, like, look, part of what makes America great is the First Amendment, which says people have the right to protest. And so, like, I don't know, to be a police officer whose job is supposedly to protect and serve, and to be rolling up on people trying to fight folks in your front yard, I don't know, cuz maybe.
That's kind of dumb.
The whole thing is so dumb on so many levels, right? This kid, Alvin Cole, let's just be clear, it is absolutely moronic to be a teenager in the parking lot of a mall playing around with a pistol. Sorry, that's just dumb. You shouldn't be in the parking lot of a mall. You really shouldn't be anywhere out in public playing around with a gun unless you're like that. No, not unless you're like, you really shouldn't be out anywhere in public playing around with a gun. You want to do that in private? Cool. This weekend, I'm going to go. In fact, hopefully tonight, I'm going to leave and I'm going to go out with my son and we're going to do some hunting and we're going to have guns. We're not going to be like
Your son?
playing with extendo clips, but we are going to have a gun. But it's going to be in a private setting where we like are being responsible. We're not flashing it to our buddies in the parking lot of a mall. That's dumb. However, yeah.
Why, you gonna go shoot guns with his son?
Yeah, and you know what he's going to learn from that? He's going to learn all the aspects of being a responsible gun owner. He's going to learn definitely not ever in any circumstance should you go run around the mall and show off a gun to your buddies. He's going to learn all the things that are the do's and the don'ts of gun safety before he ever touches a gun or does any of it. Everything that happens this weekend, it'll all be guns in my hands and he's watching. So he's going to get to watch me hunt, basically,
Right.
is what it is.
All right, bet.
Yeah, I'm not like tossing my 5-year-old a shotty and just saying like, all right, figure it out, kid. But in a lot of places, that's what happens. I guarantee you, nobody took Alvin Cole aside and said like, all right, Alvin, here's how you act as a responsible gun holder. Check out all these old folks taking pictures of all this. They're going to text their friends about how the looting and the violence was all crazy in Wauwatosa, which is basically BS. Anyways, you got to learn those responsible habits and you got to see it modeled for it actually to work. And so I guarantee you, nobody ever told Alvin Cole like, hey man, you know what would be a bad idea? To take this gun out in public and like try and use this as a status symbol and be messing around with your buddies. not a good call. However, not such a dumb call that you should get killed for it.
Wait.
There's nothing that,
It's common sense a little bit. It is common sense.
you
But
know what, it should be, but I don't think in like youth culture, like if we looked at, you got a Facebook?
Yeah.
I bet you if we looked through your Facebook friends who are high school guys, we could find 15 pictures of some guy acting like an idiot, holding a gun, doing something.
Oh yeah, most def. No question about that.
And so, like, I don't know, man. Is it common sense? Because I
That's
think,
not a
like,
reason yeah, but that's not a reason to get killed for it. That's not a reason to get
no,
shot.
absolutely. So I'm right there with you, right? Even if, and I'm gonna like go to
He's
the
just
worst
being a
case scenario.
Like you just said, you can go through we could go through Facebook and find so many teenagers who do that on a daily basis, but they're not getting killed for it. Like he's being a kid.
Right. Well, okay. So there's two things that I would say. The reason that I'm gonna be taking my kid hunting at 5 and showing him like how to be responsible with guns is because I don't think that's true. I don't think that it should be being a kid. I don't think part of being a kid should be like toting a gun around and showing off. That's probably not a responsible way to be a kid. And so I hear what you're saying, but when we say like common sense, I think that's what I'm talking about, where like you're going, look, it's just being a kid. So I don't think it's necessarily common sense to say like shouldn't be out in the mall parking lot, because lots of folks just say like, no, it's part of being a kid. Chill out. The other piece of that though is that even if in the worst case scenario, let's say he turned around and he was shooting at the cops. He didn't, but let's just say worst case scenario. If that was what happened, if he had turned around and was shooting at the cops, you know what the penalty is for shooting at the cops? Jail time. Not the death penalty. Not execution. And so even if we made this way worse than what he did, what's the penalty for running from the cops? Maybe a fine. What's the penalty for shooting a gun off in a parking lot? Maybe, if it's reckless endangerment and they really want to like run it up on you, if it's an illegal gun and you got a felony on you, maybe they can do a little bit of, you could maybe do a little bit of jail time. But
Like
even if you're like
carrying a
squeezing
gun,
rounds off,
carrying a gun is only like house arrest.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not
Right?
death.
Exactly. So like, no matter how stupid, and that's when people go like, well, it was justified, right? Like all these reasons why they think it was justified. I'm gonna call BS on that every time. That's BS. Because there's nothing on that list, including if he would have shot at this police officer, which he didn't do. But if he had, the penalty for shooting at a police officer in no way in the state of Wisconsin or in any state in the country is death penalty. Nope. Not even attempted murder, which like what would be what they would call that. Attempted murder, that's not a death penalty thing. And so I don't know. It's tough. I think there's a lot of questions we should all be asking about policing and society and how all that goes. But one of them should be like about this use of force stuff and just how it kind of all rolls. And then once it goes sideways, like what happens with him now? Because I tell you what, in some ways, I almost think that if they just said, you know what, 3 bodies, now let's send him back out there again. Like, at least you're being honest. Like, tell us what you really think. Because if they just fire this dude and like try and move away from it, I don't know. It's like, yeah, well, we're not going to charge him, but like, we won't let him work here anymore. Well, why won't you let him work here anymore? Because if you won't let him work here, that's probably an admission that like you think he did something really jacked up. If he did something really jacked up, he probably should face some charges for it. If he's not facing any charges, they should probably give him his gun and his badge back and send him back to work. And in that case, you got a man with 3 bodies on his record, and you're going to put a gun and a badge on him, and you're going to send him out there in the streets? That seems dumb. Almost as dumb as a 16-year-old kid running around a mall with a extendo clip and a pistol. So I don't know, guys. I'm out of time. You guys can all go to your 6th block, but I've appreciated being able to talk through a little bit of this stuff with you guys. Hopefully you have gotten a little bit from it and you haven't just been sitting on your phone and turning off your camera and doing whatever.
Well, have a nice day, Loose Checks.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for having the conversation, Malachi. I appreciate it.
Most def.
All right, y'all. Turn my camera around and give you the music out. Peace.
Peace.